Coming up on BYU basketball with Mark Pope. After a one-game week and an in-state win, the Cougars gear up again for the start of WCC play. We'll look ahead to some home hoops with the head coach and Caleb Lohner next.
This is BYU basketball with Mark Pope, presented by Siegfried and Jensen. And now, your host, the voice of the Cougars, Greg Wrubell.
Oh, welcome back inside Studio C at the BYU Broadcasting Building in Provo. We are tipping off 2022 with another weekly edition of BYU Basketball with Mark Pope. Thanks to the Cougar fans joining us in studio. We have Cougar fans joining us in studio. I do know that for a fact. That's how that works. And for the viewers with us live or on demand via the BYUtv app, thank you for joining us. For those watching live on the app, check out the Opine polls on your screen. To vote in the polls, get the Opine app, then just have your voice heard. You punch the poll question or the poll answer you want a question or answer the question you want to answer. Let's go with that. And we have questions for the coach or Caleb coming up in our Q&A segment. Use the hashtag Pope Show for that. Coming up on tonight's broadcast, we will recap last week's home win over Westminster. We will also preview this week's scheduled matchups in WCC play. We'll go inside the film room and go deep blue, both with Gideon George. Caleb Lohner will join us in studio, and Caleb, along with the coach, will take your questions from social media. And toss it up and get tonight's show underway. Let's welcome in BYU Hoops head coach Mark Pope. Here's Mark.
All right. What's up, player? Come on, boys. How are we? You guys all right? What's up?
Pope, good
How
to
are
see
you? Come on, man. Give me a hug. How are we, guys?
We are good.
So
Normally you sit. The fact you're not sitting tells me something.
I know. That's
Not sure
because
what.
I was so excited this morning. I'm like, I'm going to wear the new sweats to the show tonight. And then Leanne got to the office about 10 minutes ago. She's like, Mark, are you wearing those sweats? I'm like, yes, they're brand new. They're fantastic. And apparently they don't match.
You make it work. I think he makes it work.
It's just such a, like, talk about just sucking the air out of the room.
I think it's fine. I mean,
you walk around, you think, I look like $1 million bucks,
do.
and then
You
you're like,
truly
no, I
do.
don't.
You truly do. I decided to go with the gray and the royal blue, and you've done the gray and the royal blue. I think
Matching is hard.
That's what we're told. Yeah. Welcome back.
Thank you.
It's we thought we'd be talking about two games last week. We're talking about one. We'll get to that in a second. It was a weird week in basketball again.
Yes, it was. It was. I mean, none of us want to be here again, right? But
You mean on the show?
no,
Okay.
we all want to be on the show.
right.
We all want to
Okay.
be on the show. But just with this, like, you know, you never know if you're going to play a game or not. But I am making a prediction that, like, the worst is over and that we're going to run through this season.
Let's go,
I think
right?
there's a chance. I think there's a real chance that, like, we got it out of our system. We all missed a weekend of games, and hopefully we'll be back straight through.
That's the hope, right? That you have a surge, you respond from the surge, and then you enter some sense of what we call normalcy. But again, it's not like, 6 games have been lost. For BYU, 1's been lost. A couple teams might have 2, maybe as many as 4, but there's time to recover from this, right?
Yes, and it's different. Like, it's just different now. I mean, so many players are vaccinated, and that changes all the protocols. And I think there's a real chance that we just roll through, which I know everybody is excited to do. So,
What do you have anything that comes to you from the top on down, league on down, saying here's our game plan, or do you have a sense that things are going to get better?
what I know is that they're talking every day. I think there was a big conversation between ADs and the league commissioner and associate commissioner today in terms of kind of coming up with contingency plans and how we're going to do it. And there's a bunch of different ways we go. And I think it'll probably change. If we have any more missed games, it'll probably change. But I know that they're talking about it every day. We're doing it. I'm talking to every coach. You know, I talked to Randy Bennett today and yesterday. We exchanged texts over the weekend, and then after the conversation today, he was like, "Don't call me again." And so, but yeah, we're talking to all these teams every day just to kind of get an hourly update on where we are and are we going to be able to play, and that's what we're in. And so it's actually a beautiful thing because I'm talking to some of these coaches more than I've ever talked to them before.
Randy's part of your weekend plan. We hope that goes off as planned. But how did you make the best then of a bad situation by having a game canceled on the weekend? How did you turn it to benefit your program, hopefully?
Well, you know, I didn't know this on Wednesday night when we played Westminster, but we played the game. We knew we had already lost Portland, and so we had to make decisions, and we didn't even talk about it. And we got back up at the office and kind of spent a couple hours in the office doing an autopsy on the game and everything, and reached out to some of the players and did something that I have not done before. We actually, after that staff meeting, we were just like, I'm shutting down the gym for 48 hours. No staff member, no player is allowed in the annex over the course of the next 40 hours. Everybody was banished.
Just to be clear, this wasn't a protocol thing. This was a mental health, if you want to call it, break.
Yeah, I mean, mental health, just emotional, like reparations, right? It'd been you know, these guys had worked really, really hard and put in a ton of time with really no break, and so it was actually a gift. Like, this Portland game being canceled was a gift for us, I think, because it gave us a couple days where these guys could just get away and just, like, you know, fill their tank a little bit and just kind of be away from the game for 48 hours, and then we came back and we hit it hard since then.
Did everyone feel like they needed it?
Yes.
In hindsight?
I didn't have a single player or coach complain, not one. I think everybody was like, okay, we actually need this. You know, sometimes as painful as this is for me to say, sometimes rest is the most important way to improve. And our guys needed it. What they did the first 3 months of the season was extraordinary, and now we get to start over again with another season, and so they're coming back fully energized and ready to go.
Great. We'll talk some more about how you've responded. But let's look back to the one game you got to play last week. It is BYU and Westminster. Highlights and stats presented by Intermountain Healthcare, the official medical provider for BYU athletics. It was your final in-state game of the season.
Yep. This seems like it was a year ago, actually. It was a long time ago. You know, it's our 5th in-state game. We played 10 in-state games, I think, in the last 2 years. I don't know if that's ever been done before, but they're really good for us, and it's great to play these games. And Westminster is coached by a great staff and talented players, a bunch of guys from the state. So it's really personal, and it was a fun game.
BYU under head coach Mark Pope now 12-2 in the in-state games. That includes 2 non-D1 wins, the wins over Westminster last year and this year, 10-2 in the D1 in-state games, and the only 2 losses BYU's had in-state came on the road in overtime. Excellent in-state record through 3 seasons under Coach Pope. And in this game, 4 BYU players in double figures shot the ball better after halftime. I thought it took the guys a while to get into this one. Yeah,
you could tell that. I mean, the fatigue was manifest throughout the game. Not that emotional fatigue so far of the season, and kind of with this onslaught of what was coming.
You just got back from Hawaii.
Yep, just got back, and the game after a MTE trip is always tricky. Westminster played a great game. They actually out-rebounded us, which doesn't happen very often, and played really, really well. And our guys did what they needed to do to get the win.
Okay, bench brigade. I want to hit the bench brigade on this one. 2 guys in particular, Gideon George and Hunter Erickson, played really, really well for you as reserves in this one.
Gideon George has lost his mind shooting the ball. Like, he's shooting 46, 48% the last 5 games. It just is unbelievable, and he's feeling it too. Every day he walks in the office, he's like, Coach, you got to give me more shots. And so he was terrific. And then Hunter Erickson has played important minutes for us this season. He's finding little spaces where he can make a big difference, and I expect him to help us this weekend also.
Gideon, we see him shooting threes. He had 2 threes in his first 8 games, 11 threes in his last 5 games. How does that happen?
Well, you know, so listen, Gideon, first of all, got really, really sick a few games into the season, and so he's just finally getting his legs back from that. He was contributing in other huge ways early on in the season. He had some big-time rebounding games and some big-time defensive effort games, and he's fallen into his stroke the last few games, and that's been really fun for all of us.
And then we see Hunter, and we get to see him do what he was really kind of known for doing as a high schooler, an athletic jumper, great dunker, and you got to show it off there.
Yeah, he's got a chance to become a great defensive player. He's a really, really physical driver. He can really shoot the ball. Like, he's got a good skill set, and he's been working hard for a long time, and he's gonna continue to kind of work his way onto this scene, and when it's all said and done, he's gonna be a really special player.
Hunter had a career-high 27 minutes in the Westminster game. Trevin Nell just kind of quietly settling into one of the more reliable players you've got on the roster right now. Had another nice game against Westminster.
Yep, and Trev is also the last 10 games or so been shooting the ball at an unbelievable clip, kind of what we expect from him. He didn't make shots early, but since then he's been shooting at a great clip. and he's been really, really solid on the defensive end. You look at Trevor Nell, and he's one of our most consistent hit-first guys on the glass. He's done a nice job fulfilling defensive assignments. He's a good positional defender. He's gotten better and better on the ball, and of course, he's added pieces to his offensive game too, getting downhill off the bounce and being a playmaker.
We use the phrase three-level scorer with Trevor, and that's become kind of who he is right now.
He's getting closer to that, and the thing I'm most excited about is his decision-making and his patience off the bounce. Downhill has been really good.
All right, let's get to some more from Gideon George. After starting the first 6 games of the season, Gideon, as Coach noted, took ill and missed a couple games. As he works his way back, Gideon has worked his way into a solid rotational role as the Cougars evolve and develop depth. Averaging 10-plus points per game over his last 4 games, Gideon George tonight takes us inside the film room with Jerem Jordan.
All right, Gideon, 17 points, 8 rebounds, a game high versus Westminster. What was going right for you in that game?
I'll say shot making and shooting the ball with confidence. So mostly I'll just say confident though, just shooting the ball with confidence and knowing the ball is going in. So that's what worked for me.
Okay, and it starts with layups, which is always nice to get warmed up, right? Caleb Lohner finds you on a nice play underneath.
So this is a post entry. I was supposed to split with Trevin, then you see, I say he drew the double team, and I was just chilling at the baseline. I was like, Caleb, I hear his name, and I'm so glad he just turned and saw me, and that was a good pass by Caleb, though, and that worked out for both of us. So credit to Caleb for the assist.
It's a good way to get warmed up, right?
Yeah,
for some threes. You hit 5. Hunter Erickson finds you for one of those 5.
Right here, my man is like the bottom. He's trying to help. I hit a couple of threes already. I was like, so I'm not hesitating. I just pulled the trigger and it went in. So I feel like they're scouted, like, yeah, he's non-shooter. And because throughout the course of the game, I was talking to the other players. They were like, bro, on the scouts, you're a non-shooter. I was like, I know, but today it just kept going in. So
someone said that to you?
The head coach said that to me after the game too, and some of the players say that to me too. So
well, you start 3 of 21, but then in Hawaii you go 5 of 11. You refound it. What has changed for you?
Hawaii was so good to me.
You're an island boy, like you said, right?
So just shooting the ball with confidence, though, that helps a lot. And, like starting the season, I'll be struggling from the 3-point arc and seeing the shot fall in. So that's helped my confidence to shoot more. So
when the shot is not going in, you still got to play defense. Let's go back to the San Diego State game. This is one of my favorite defensive plays from the entire season. A chase down block like LeBron James here.
This play, I was like, oh, I turned the ball over. Just look at my Pope, look at Coach Pope over there. So he's like, what are you doing? So I got to get on my horse and chase the ball.
What's life like right now, preparing for games that you hope are played? You just don't know right now, especially with all the COVID stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. It's really hard, getting ready for games, and before you know, a day before the game, and you see on social media the game got canceled because of COVID and stuff like that. So it's really hard, but we always say it's getting better every day. It doesn't matter if the game gets canceled or postponed, so we still get better every day. So
you posted on social media about the kids getting some of the shoes that you got of the 6,000 from Cougar Nation. What was that like for you to see them get the shoes?
I was pretty happy though, because there was a video of a little boy. He got a shoe and he was running back and forth. I was like, wow. So it's pretty exciting, seeing smiles on the kid's face is bringing joy to my heart. It's fulfilling to me, and I'm grateful for Cougars Nation for doing this. Not just for me, for the kids back home, giving them something to live up to and putting a smile on their faces.
It's pretty awesome, man.
It is.
Thanks for doing that.
Yes, I appreciate it.
Thanks to Cougar Nation, thanks to you, and good luck this week.
Appreciate that.
Gideon George, and the phrase, joy to my heart, he brings joy to people's hearts.
It's one of the great things that happens at BYU. So Gideon brought together BYU Global Supply Chain Association and the Black Student Union and Time Out for Africa and, of course, his hometown to put this together and sent 6,000. They're not all there. They haven't all arrived. Some are still in storage. He's trying to work on the logistics of getting them over there, and I think he's still trying to collect more shoes. But it's incredible to watch. And, I don't know that it's that often in our life where we can make just a massive difference in the lives of people in our community, but he's doing that. It's just incredible, and the fact that we all get to share in it and witness it is really awesome.
It is.
And it's fun to see him making shots and getting blocks.
That part of it
and doing
too.
All the other stuff too. That's fun also.
Later in the show, a little later on, we'll have our Deep Blue, which is also on Gideon George, and at the end of that feature, we'll show on our screen how folks can still contribute to that effort in Nigeria, so stick around for that. Let's bring up the schedule that BYU's playing. We know that the New Year's Day game against Portland was taken off the schedule for the time being, and again, the idea right now is to try and find spots to reschedule missed games in the WCC right now. But as for right now, we have the Thursday, Saturday set up this week, Pacific and St. Mary's. And that St. Mary's game, Coach, starts the back-to-back-to-back games against the other 3 teams projected to make the field of 68 right now out of the WCC. It could be an unprecedented, if things go well, 4-bid year for the league if everyone does their part.
Right now, the prognosticators have 4 teams in. That's never been the case ever in the WCC. And if you think about it, what's really exciting for us is we play St. Mary's at home, and that's right on the border of being a quad 1 game.
Right.
And then we go to Gonzaga, and that's an off the charts quad 1 game. And we go to San Francisco, that's off the charts quad 1 game. And we're playing 3 straight quad 1 games in the WCC. Where does that happen? Now, it's also super scary because they're really good teams, but it's a pretty exciting year for the league. It's a really, really exciting year for the league, and it's going to be fun, and every game's going to be tough. And the thing is, the Pacific game is going to be tougher than any of them right now. I mean, it's just how it is. You know, we played this Pacific team last year, and it took everything we had in an overtime game to come away with the win. So every game in conference is tough, and that's what makes conference basketball great.
It usually is a grind against Pacific. Back to the scheduling note for a second. Is that still accurate? Postponements as opposed to cancellations right now? They're still trying to slot things in. But teams had built-in buys. You had 2 open days before last week, right?
Yeah, and so it's going to be really interesting to see what happens. So I think right now the league would like to keep the integrity of the league schedule as close as they can, even though it looks like it by the end of the week we're going to have a couple teams that have already missed 3 and 4 games. And so at some point, hopefully what's going to happen is they'll say, you know, if we, no, I'm not hoping we miss more games, but if we do miss more games, they'll give us some freedom to actually reschedule how we see best, and maybe we can add a couple non-conference games in there. So we'll see.
Okay, so there's a decent chance we could see the unbalanced thing come into play again in terms of how we rank standings, I guess.
I mean, if we didn't miss a single game moving forward, we might be able to have everybody play every game, but I don't know how high the probability of that is. So, you know, we already have an unbalanced schedule just to start. The thing that would be different is that we might not have all the teams play the equal number of games total in league. And that's okay. I mean, we had that last year. It worked out fine. Everything's great. And so, you know, we'll find a way to work it out this year.
Okay, break time. Let's go to break by telling you that for your day-to-day Cougar Sports play-by-play, I want you to watch and listen to BYU Sports Nation with Spencer and Jerem, weekdays noon Eastern, BYUtv, and BYU Radio on SiriusXM. When we come back, more from Gideon George in tonight's edition of Deep Blue, and Caleb Lohner will join us live in studio as BYU basketball with Mark Pope continues. Stay with us.
BYU Basketball with Mark Pope is brought to you by Siegfried and Jensen, helping Utah families for over 30 years. And by Intermountain Healthcare, official medical provider for BYU Athletics.
Yeah, so with no game on Saturday, Coach Pope just strapped the GoPro to his helmet and just decided to shoot something. No.
How fun does that look? We should do that. We need it. Can we do a live shoot?
That was up at Soldier Hollow.
That is awesome.
Not too far from here. It's good stuff.
Wow.
Welcome back to BYU Basketball with Mark Pope, presented by Siegfried and Jensen, back with the coach in Studio C. Well, before the break in the film room, we had Gideon George, and we are back with more from a player who has come a long way, figuratively and literally, to become a force for good both on and off the floor at BYU. Here now is this week's edition of Deep Blue, presented by Brady Industries. Honestly, better.
Should we do this?
Yeah, let's go.
George on the drive and the foul. Gideon George.
7 points now from Gideon.
Throws it down. Turned over. Here comes George and some showtime. Working baseline. Fade away.
If there is something that he needs to overcome to get to where he wants to go, he's going to figure it out. He's going to work through it, and he's going to keep building.
It didn't just come like that. he had to work for it. Like, he had to do a lot of stuff to actually get where he is. So that fire will not go off, because it's been now it's like a lifestyle.
Last year was not an easy transition year for him. There were a lot of hard things for him, as he's an international student that had only been in the States for a couple years, coming to a major university in a huge population for the first time, and dealing with all the attention and the fanfare and learning a new system.
Sometimes I do question, like, why am I here at BYU? Like, what am I doing here? But at the end of the day, I'll sit down and like reflect and be like, okay, God has a reason for me coming down here to BYU. I don't know the purpose right now, but I'm still trusting God to lead the way.
The goal is to fill up that container. I think we can fill it up with 240 boxes. Once that's filled up, we're sending it to Washington, D.C., and from Washington, D.C., Time Out for Africa would take over and then take the boxes to Mina, Nigeria. That's where Gideon is from. And they'll go from school to school, distributing the sneakers and backpacks to students there. So,
the only thing I gotta say is, you look at these kids back home in Nigeria, and they get so excited just for a pair of shoes. You know, we're super fortunate here. We get shoes, we get clothes, and we just take it for granted. And so something like this that Gideon does for other people is, again, super special, and he has a big heart. So that's what everybody knows out here in Cougar Nation, is he has a huge heart. He's a good teammate and a good bro.
For a college basketball player to do something like this, especially thinking about his home, it's special. Kind of just speaks to who this guy is, man.
It's bigger than basketball. Bigger than basketball.
So last year, the Deep Blue talked about his shoe drive, and so what went from being a very just personal kind of face-to-face thing became a thing where all of a sudden there's just boxes showing up at the annex with shoes in them.
The shoes has made a lot of impact on school kids and kids playing basketball within Mina community. We had about 100 pairs of shoes. Now, 5,000 pairs of shoes. Wow.
I'll get like random texts on my IG, like random people texting me, be like, hey, Gideon, how's it going? I got like tons of shoes for you. I'll be like, wow.
And he's the driving force behind it. He's the one pushing it. It's something that's near and dear to his heart, that means a lot to him. It was a charity that he benefited from as a youth, and now he's getting to pay it back, and it's something he takes really seriously and cares about.
It's been incredible to see the support from BYU, the different student organizations that have worked with him and reached out and said, hey, we want to help in this effort. And the BYU family, the fan base, the coaching staff, everybody that can be involved, that can help push, that can help promote, has done so, to the point where, you know, we're talking 5,000 to 6,000 pairs of shoes now will be headed to Nigeria. And it's impossible to overstate the importance of what that means to that community where these shoes are going and what this can mean. So for the BYU community to get behind this and really grab onto this passion that Gideon has and help him has been absolutely incredible.
I want to use this time to like pour my heart out there for like people that have donated, like even those ones I can't even like get to reach, you know, people donating without me being aware. I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. I really appreciate it, because you guys are changing the world, and like you guys are giving like meaning to those kids back home, and like they're really grateful. Like I'm gonna speak on behalf of them kids back home. They are really grateful, like seeing the joy on their faces, like when they talk about changing the world, you guys are really, really changing the world. So thank you very much for that.
Gideon and his brother Samson don't need pushing to be incredible people. And so, Samson has had these blessings since he's been in America, that then he wants to extend back to his family. And Gideon, the same thing. He wants to extend the things that he has in any way he can back to his family. And so Samson and Gideon looked at it and said, okay, here's the financial position that we've been fortunate to be in as a basketball player now. We can help our parents buy their first house.
It's like, you wouldn't call it a thing of pride. It's just a thing of joy that actually they never actually thought about that was going to happen in their lifetime.
I feel like we just relieved my dad from so many stuff, He's really, really happy. And I'm happy for that, seeing my parents happy. I'm glad we can do something like that for my parents. And I say it's a blessing for the family, for sure.
We hope he finishes his degree with flying colors. And we wish him all the best in his basketball career.
Gideon, we have missed you so much. We wish you all the best in your career. We thank all the donors. We thank BYU. We thank you from out for Africa.
And on our screen, that is how our viewers and BYU fans can continue to contribute to that effort.
It's amazing. I mean, these Deep Blues are really special because, like, last week we watched Craig Cusick's story, and this year we get to see part two of Gideon George's story. And sometimes we just see each other, whether it's in athletics or just around, as we just see each other, but we don't know stories. And these stories are super powerful. And this Gideon George is an incredible young man that's doing incredible things, and is a small thing. How great is his laugh?
Yeah,
like, it's just infectious, isn't it? His smile and his laugh, and it's awesome to watch. We all get to be a part of it. It's pretty
nice
neat
to hear from his parents too and see them.
Yes.
Now you have a player from Nigeria in Gideon. You have a player from Mali in Fusane Traore, and you have a player from Tanzania in Atiki Ali Atiki. When you recruit, you don't just do it from afar. You've been overseas, right?
Yes. One of the hardest things actually is in the last year we haven't been allowed to travel back overseas, but I'm so anxious to get back. I've never actually been able to been to Minna and met Gideon's parents, and I haven't had a chance to go to Tanzania and meet Atiki's mom. I have been to Mali a couple times, and it just is it's like, this world is bigger than we think, and it's way smaller than we think. And our life experiences are so wildly different, but we're all living the same experience some ways. And this is a great place for all those people from different places to come together here at BYU.
If I could use Mali as an example then for a bit, when you go and you make that personal visit and approach, then you come back and then you bring players in who speak about where they're from and how they were brought up. You have to have a better appreciation of what being at a place like BYU must mean for these players and their families.
Yeah, it's remarkable. I mean, the first time I went to Mali was just on a charity trip. It was actually a charity trip where we got to actually do some of the first baptisms ever done in Mali, and we got to do Days for Girls, if you're familiar with that program, and do some water purification stuff. And we went there and worked for 10 days in what we would consider really, really tough conditions, but Fus is like, that's every day of his life conditions. And it just is extraordinary to see how that actually builds these people. We talked about Fus, he was on the show last week, and just you talk about an extraordinary human being that was built a lot because of his family, and the people loved him and cared for him in the environment he grew up in, and we're blessed to have him here.
All right. Well, when the WCC coaches voted players to their preseason all-conference team, Caleb Lohner joined Alex Barcelo as the two from BYU. Now, with league play about to get underway, Caleb and the Cougs hoping to turn preseason promise into regular and postseason progression. Please welcome in and back to Studio C, Caleb Lohner.
How are you, baby?
find this seat?
I feel like I'm having a Puka Samson Nakua moment here. Yeah, this is a Caleb Lohner moment, though. Let's just go right to the garb. And is this a personal favorite of yours?
Yeah, it's a personal favorite. It bounces back between me and my best friend Gavin, who does clothes. So I went to his closet. I'm like, I'm wearing the pink coat tonight.
Yeah, I mean,
how did you not get me one of those to wear? Like, I'm so upset with Gavin right now.
I have an arsenal of stuff you can wear if you want.
The closet's not empty at this point. I don't think. Hey, we started with. I'm not sure if you were able to see the Gideon Deep Blue or not. Were you able to see it?
Yep.
Okay. Let's just get your feedback on what you got to watch there.
I just got to saw kind of the end stuff, but I mean, hats off to that dude. Gideon George is one of a kind, and what he does is pretty special.
And you have connection with Foose, right? You played with Foose at Wasatch Academy.
I did.
When you were teammates, what kind of a sense did you get about where he came from? And it kind of relates to what Gideon's doing for people back home. Do you feel like you have a closer connection to that?
I do a little bit, because we had a few guys on my team in high school that were kind of from, deep out in Africa, and like their lifestyle was just so much different, and getting to know them and kind of understanding where they came from and their family, and it was kind of eye-opening to me, and I actually thought it was really cool. I'm like, hey, these kids are here to play basketball. They're from these places in the world that maybe aren't as fortunate as we, understand. And I don't know, I just think it's really cool. But yeah, there's like a special spot in my heart for that, because I think I do understand a little bit more and more, just because I've been close with some of these kids who have been from places like that, that I think what Gideon's doing is really awesome.
Coach, whether as a college player or a professional player or coach you've been, how cool is it to be in locker rooms where you look around and you just kind of go, nowhere else and no other way do I get to bring these guys together in this kind of grouping?
Yeah, it's really cool. I mean, our locker room is really special right now, not just because of where guys are from, but guys' personality. I mean, like Caleb Lohner is an extraordinarily unique and huge personality that it just adds so much to our locker room, right? And he's from Texas and then spent a year or two in Utah, right? And so it's not just the regions of the world where they're from, but the personalities they bring and the attitudes and the joy is pretty great.
Okay, in the intro too, I mentioned the WCC preseason honor. How big a deal was that for you to be up there with AB and know that the coaches think about you that way in this conference?
I tried not to get too caught up in it, but I did respect the fact that, hey, there's people out there that understand that.
Did you even know? I don't even think he knew. Did you even know?
Okay,
he's giving us the reporter's answer right now. He's probably like, I didn't.
I didn't really know until I came in and Figure punched me in the shoulder and was like, dude, you see this? I was like, oh, that is pretty cool. But it's nice to be acknowledged up there like that. Now it's time to just go and do what I think I can do and help this team win.
When I look at Caleb's numbers from last year and this year, I see consistency. He rebounds as well as he scores, and it's been pretty much there for his last year and this year. What do you see when you look kind of inside the box score and beyond it?
Yeah, it's really fun. So he's growing his defensive game. We put him in really, really difficult situations. He's got to guard 1 through 5 on the floor, and it's probably not fair, but that's what we're asking him to do. He's just a man among boys on the glass in terms of his tenacity and his every single possession he's going to the glass. We're asking him to make so many more decisions on the offensive end, and he's growing in that. You saw the clip of him, accepting the double team off the bounce and then turning and finding Gideon kind of open. He's done that over and over this season, and his game is just growing and growing. And the thing is, he's barely scratching the surface. So it's so fun to have him on this team doing the incredible things he's doing. And we recently just named him the president of the Energy Committee 2 days ago.
Yeah! Does that come with a placard, a business card, anything like that? Or is it?
It does not. It comes with if I make sure the team's loud enough, we don't run at the end of practice.
Okay. You are in charge of making sure the energy stays at a certain level.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. The coat didn't come with the appointment, is what you're saying. This coat was a totally separate deal.
Totally separate.
Yeah. Coach.
But the coat is representative of the joy that he brings into the gym every day.
Yeah. So Coach referenced an on the floor clip a moment ago. Let's take a look at an off the floor clip of Caleb Lohner. And Caleb, you can talk us through this maybe a little bit. Where are you in this picture?
I am in Lake Powell.
Are you the guy in midair there?
I wish. I don't have the body for that. This guy's not as of stature as I am, but Yeah, we.
That was your group, though?
Yeah, it was my little crew. We set up a really cool outing, and that's Sean Murray, kind of known as like the best wakeboarder ever. And yeah, he jumped over me. The first time he did it, I ducked. I was like, there's no way he's clearing me by 5 feet. Like that would be however high.
Right.
And the first time I did it, and then everyone else in the boat, like, Caleb, like, stand up. Like, all right.
Stand tall. Yeah.
And so then I'm out there, and he does it again, and I kind of look up, and I'm like, he is definitely way higher than I am. So yeah, it was fun. It was a good little outing, but I enjoy all that kind of stuff.
Coach
kind of brings a joy to life for me. So.
If Caleb were the guy in midair, would you be okay with that?
Well, so here's the deal. Like this was one of our introductions to this new world of name, image, and likeness.
Yeah.
And so Caleb was, this was essentially an appearance that he got paid for. And so he came to me and was like, Coach, hey, I got this deal. They're going to do this thing. It's pretty fun. And it's with the most famous wakeboarder in the world, right? And that's one of those moments as a coach where you're just like, okay. Please. In fact, we talked about it probably 4 or 5 times. Like, please come back alive. Please come back with all your appendages.
Yeah.
Thing is, Caleb's so talented. He's so talented. He's got such a love of life that, I mean, if you check out his social media, he's got, he's doing 100-foot cliff dives where he's doing a triple dipple ginger and whatever. And he's a musician, and he's obviously clearly a fashionista, and he's just got a lot of beautiful parts of his life that we get to enjoy as teammates.
Do you back it off in the wintertime a little bit now that you're at BYU as a college player?
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to. Like, I'm so committed to what we do and the work here that it's kind of hard to do anything else. But I mean, like he's saying, the joy and all that fun is just kind of brought into the locker room with everyone as a team. So I don't really feel the need to go out and do some of those things that I usually do.
I hear you. Can you stick with us for one more segment?
Of course.
Okay, stay with us. We'll come back with more from Caleb and Q&A for both guys. On the newest Deep Blue podcast, Jerem Jordan talks with baseball coach Mike Littlewood about officiating in March Madness, turning down a job in the NBA, a tumor he had removed, and the future of BYU baseball. Listen on the BYU radio app and where podcasts are found. Coming up, questions from social media for Caleb and the coach as BYU basketball with Mark Pope continues. Stay with us.
Actually,
Christmas, is that your first time serving on Christmas? First time ever?
Yeah.
There you go.
Hey, welcome back to BYU Basketball with Mark Pope, presented by Siegfried and Jensen. Back in Studio C with head coach Mark Pope and Caleb Lohner. Let's get to the Q&A portion of our show, presented by Smith's Fresh for Everyone. All right, first question. This is coming from Cameron. He says, Caleb, you are so engaging and seem so natural on camera. Have you considered a future in broadcasting once your basketball career is over?
Which part? I think there's a ton of...
Yeah, do you want to go into broadcast? Have you thought about broadcasting?
No.
Any kind?
Probably not.
Yeah.
Maybe if there's, I don't know.
What about being a reality TV person or like a soap star?
I mean, that would be fun. Why
like
not?
A straight up actor?
He could crush it in a soap. Don't you think? Do you even know what that is?
Not really.
You don't know what that is.
I think being an actor would be cool.
Yeah. Have you done any kind of dramatic productions in your life? Is it all athletics?
No, I did a choir production in like 5th grade that I got kicked out of.
So why would you get kicked out of a choir production?
I told my teacher, I was like, I'm not singing that song. It was like a duo with some other chick, and I didn't like the way she sang.
You were out.
So I was like, I'm not doing it with her.
So can you sing?
I can sing. I wouldn't say I'm like a phenomenal.
So you know the follow-up question to that?
Will you sing?
You know how to say, cut! Cut! I totally put it on. I was like, Greg sings. Greg sang.
It comes out of nowhere. It comes out of nowhere. It does. It can't be.
It was actually beautiful. I can still hear it in my mind. It was.
Thank you.
Willie Nelson.
Next question from social. It's for Coach, actually, this one. What do you do to help motivate your team when games are postponed and you have nothing but practice on the schedule for a week?
It's not easy. But fortunately, we got a locker room of guys that just love playing basketball. They love playing basketball. Even as hard as I try to take the joy away from the game, they still bring it. And so we have an incredibly motivated group that's super hungry, so I don't have to do a lot. These guys do it. It's one of the great things about coaching this team is there's not a lot for me to do.
Okay, Coach in the first segment talked about post-Westminster, he decided to kind of shut everyone down for a couple days. No basketball. How did you take that, and was it good for you and the guys?
I don't know if I can speak 100% truly for the rest of the guys, but I think we all needed it. We didn't really get any at Christmas time off. We were in Hawaii. We played 3 games in 5 days. It's pretty quick.
4 days, yeah.
Yeah. So I think it was good. 2 days, I mean, sometimes balance is very helpful, and I think just getting out of the gym and kind of being able to relax, let your bodies heal, let your minds kind of do what they want.
So we jumped on a Zoom call. It was, I don't know what time, it was 11:30?
It was late.
It was late.
Yeah.
So we just kind of finished meeting the staff. We got all the guys on a Zoom call, and I told you guys that you were locked out of the gym for 48 hours, and your immediate reaction was?
I didn't believe it was true.
You're like being punked.
I was like, there's no way. Like, I'm still going to sleep right next to my phone in case we have practice in the morning.
What did you do with the real Coach Pope? What is happening here? Yeah, it was true though, right?
Yeah.
You guys were out.
Yeah.
Question from social media. Caleb, when will we see you? Oh no, yeah, I think it's the next one. Yeah, when will we see you windmill dunk?
When I get an open fast break, I will do it.
Next time, at least you plan to?
Yeah, I plan to.
We'll look for that. This next one for Coach Pope. Let's see if we go to this one. There was a question. Yeah, this one. What is your best win to date?
Ooh, good question.
Yeah.
Ever?
Thought-provoking? Yeah. Well, let's say.
I don't know.
Maybe at BYU. I don't know.
At BYU, well, you always base on your last one. So Westminster, right? We'll take that one. I'm not going to complain about that. But these guys have had so many huge wins. I mean, just think about this year, right? San Diego State at home was so epic, and Oregon on the road, and Utah State, and Westminster. I mean, you just go to at Utah. We're super blessed because there's a lot of them. These guys have provided us a lot of special wins.
Okay, Caleb, let's hope there's 2 wins set for this weekend, but it's Pacific and St. Mary's, WCC play getting underway. Maybe a thought from you on what you hope this team is able to achieve in the West Coast Conference, which looks good this year.
I want to win the West Coast Conference, and I don't see why we can't. I think we have the pieces, the team, the mentality to do it. But it's going to be hard. This conference is no joke, especially this year. I think every single team we play is going to be a war the entire time, and I don't think that's going to change, starting from Thursday to the last game we play in conference to the tournament. I think it's just going to be a battle, and I'm actually looking forward to it.
And Coach Pope, last year is when I think Caleb played some of his best basketball. When the league wars got going, he really jumped up.
Yep, and he's on that trajectory right now. Like you saw at the end of the Liberty game, he's just like, hey. In fact,
that's right.
He was yelling at me at the end of the Liberty game, hey, run it back, and he was delivering. And we've asked him to do so much this year. He's playing 3 different positions for us. We haven't playing a ton of minutes now at the 5 just because of situational stuff, and he just rings the bell every time. And his best basketball is ahead of him, so it's pretty exciting.
We're going to do this again with you in the years to come. You'll come back on the show, we hope. Is there a chance the coat makes a return with you when you do come back?
There's going to be different coats.
Okay. We don't need to repeat this, is what you're saying.
No, I got Arsenal, like I was saying.
Okay, we'll enjoy this one for tonight.
Caleb will never walk onto the show with mismatched sweats. He's not doing that.
Now, Tice told me, he's like, just wear a BYU t-shirt. I was like, I'm not doing that.
No, thank you. Yeah, I can go up a level from that. Yeah, great to have you here again.
Yep, thanks for having me.
We'll do it again. Thank you. That's Caleb Lohner, folks. All right, tune in this Thursday. Countdown to tip-off. Jerem Jordan and Tyler Haas will get you set for BYU and Pacific, 6:30 Eastern, and then sync up with BYU Radio for the game on Thursday. Coming up next, we'll preview that game in St. Mary's. Stay with us. BYU basketball with Mark Pope. We're back after this.
BYU Basketball with Mark Pope is brought to you by Siegfried and Jensen, helping Utah families for over 30 years. Smith's, fresh for everyone. And by Cascade Collision Repair, serious about perfection.
Welcome back to BYU Basketball with Mark Pope. Here's this week's game day schedule, starting with the Pacific game on Thursday. Pacific at BYU. Countdown to tip-off on BYUtv at 6:30 Mountain, 8:30 Eastern. 1/2 hour prior to that, we'll start your pregame coverage on the radio. The game itself at 9 Eastern on BYUtv and BYU Radio for play-by-play. And then we'll have post-game coverage on the TV and the radio for you afterward. And indeed, BYU and Pacific Thursday in the Marriott Center. BYU has won the last 6 games in this series and the last 4 in Provo. But as we talked about earlier, rarely do you just coast away from this team.
Yeah, hard. And you know, I have a lot of respect for the way Pacific runs their program, for what Damon did and what Coach is doing now. They're so physical and they play so hard. You'll see it as this game goes on. They don't hold back, and they're actually physical, big, long, strong, athletic guys. And so it's going to be a challenge. It always is.
New head coach for the Tigers, Leonard Perry, who was on Damon's staff, taking over for Damon Stoudemire. Currently last place in league at 5-9 through non-conference games. That's the Thursday game, bringing us up to Saturday. St. Mary's is on the schedule. We have to note that they did postpone their Thursday game scheduled with Santa Clara at Santa Clara. But as of right now, BYU St. Mary's is still set for the weekend.
Yes. The Gales get a full week to prepare for BYU Cougars, but that's great. That's how it works sometimes. This is such a great rivalry game. I think in the last 2 years, I think 2 years ago, didn't we have 3 games that were decided by 1 point or you know, a
very
per game or something like that? And then last year was our first win at St. Mary's. I think we were 1-9 or 1-8 there before we went. So a huge win there. Coach Bennett is such a great coach. The thing I say about him all the time is he could probably walk to the Richards building during noon and put together 5 guys that might be able to win our league. And they have a really talented roster with some veteran players, great leadership. He's 2 big-time games this week. How great.
It was a huge win that you picked up there last year, as you noted. The first regular season sweep of St. Mary's in 7 years. It's hard to do. This year they're 12-3, one of 4 teams out of the WCC, of course, in the field of 68 right now. One of the best defensive teams in the country this year and annually. Teams don't get the assists they want to get. Yep. They don't get to the free throw line the way they want to get there. They don't get the threes off the way they want to get them. Randy has a system that works on everyone they play.
Yeah, and like I said, I mean, they have a veteran backcourt and a veteran front court. They're really deep this year. Last year they had some injuries they were fighting, and this year they have all those guys back with unbelievable depth. And this is a great rivalry. Like it just is a special thing, I think, between BYU and St. Mary's. There's not a lot of love lost, but there's a ton of respect, and that's what you want out of athletics.
You know, St. Mary's is one of those games that annually draws some of the most energized crowds to the Marriott Center. But this year, whether it's St. Mary's coming in on the weekend or Pacific you'll see Thursday or a non-Division I opponent like Westminster or Central Methodist, your fans are showing up for every game you play this year. The building looks full every night. It's been amazing.
Yeah, Marriott Center is special. It's awesome. Thank you guys for coming. Thank you so much.
50th anniversary of this building. We've talked about that. The 50th anniversary logo is on the floor. It looks great, holding its age really well. And yes, you're trying to compete and win in the WCC, but we're okay to look ahead a little bit into the future sometimes and think about the fact that you'll have new teams coming in to experience something that a lot of these programs just have not historically.
Yeah, it's you know, the present is really exciting. The history we have is great, and our future is almost intoxicatingly exciting. So it's good times, and all that's fine and good. We got to win a game
Pacific on Thursday. I knew that was going to come back to that. After that game, we already hit this, the fact that following Pacific, you get those back-to-back games. Yep. And not that it's make or break necessarily, because these are really good basketball teams to talk about, but you could set yourself up in a really good way if you play good basketball here in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, it's interesting because I don't know if we ever had a 3-game run, you know, a 4-game run like this in this league where every game is a toss-up with top 40 teams in the country, right? And so it is a great opportunity to kind of go see where we are right now and on this first half of the league season and kind of see if we can jump up on people.
All right, time for a break. Should we do our trivia question for this week? Let's do it. Here's this week's trivia question presented by Cascade Collision Repair. Serious about perfection. What is BYU's record for most regular season conference wins since BYU joined the WCC? What is the most wins, the highest number of wins BYU's gotten in league regular season conference games since they joined the WCC? The answer coming up right after this. Welcome back to BYU Basketball with Mark Pope, presented by Siegfried and Jensen. Closing moment of the show. Tonight's trivia question presented by Cascade Collision Repair. Serious about perfection. The most wins BYU's had in regular season play in league since joining the WCC. The answer there is 13 games, and it's happened 4 different times. And some of those were 18-game schedules, some were 13 or 16-game schedules, including the 2020. All right, Coach Pope, the final 60 seconds we have. You said that after giving your guys that 48-hour break, you came back this week and hit it hard. What have you seen from your guys in getting ready for this opening weekend of conference?
Yeah, just a renewed energy and intensity, which they know what they're. Listen, these guys understand what we're in for, and so they're just excited to get to it. These games turn into such a battle, and some players and some teams kind of shy away from that, and our guys just can't wait to get going. So it's going to be fun. Let's go.
I'm so looking forward to it, especially after we're creatures of habit, and we don't have games on the weekends. We get a little antsy.
Yep.
I'm ready to get back after it with you, too. I'm excited. Coach, thank you. Great week ahead. Good luck to you.
Thank you, brother.
All right. We'll talk to you next Tuesday, 8:30 Eastern, for BYU basketball with Mark Pope. For our producers, Dave Phillips Jr., Hema Heimuli, the coach, Mark Pope, and Caleb Lohner, I am Greg Wrubell. Have a great night, great week. Go Cougs.